Admiral Reyes stood at the center of the command spire, hands clasped behind his back as if he were merely waiting for weather reports instead of tracking the incoming signatures of an alien armada. The bridge hummed with controlled energy, officers exchanging quiet data, scanners pulsing in cold blue, the tactical table bathing Reyes's face in soft light. From orbit above Tantalus, the view was almost serene. The curve of the colony whirled below, a ring of defense satellites glinting like scattered jewels, and beyond them, the silent dark. "Confirmed," Lieutenant Maravas said, her voice steady despite the weight of what she read. "Multiple warp ruptures. Fleet size at least 60 capital ships, possibly more. Same configuration as the raids in the Vega line. It's the core Thale." Reyes nodded once. No alarm. No adrenaline spike. No rush to bark orders. Time to contact distance. 7 minutes. He exhaled slowly, a controlled breath fit for a surgeon or executioner. And the colony evacuation. 73% complete. Civilian transports are still lifting from the far continent. If they accelerate their approach. They will, Reyes said. Warriors hungry for spectacle don't delay their feast. Mara hesitated a fraction of a second, then spoke quietly. "Sir, the core Thale won't expect resistance. Not here. Not after what they did in Vega. I'm counting on it." Reyes said nothing more. He didn't need to. Calm was a weapon, and panic was something he would never offer an enemy. On Tantalus, for below, the sky was already bruised purple from the afterburn of fleeing transports. Sergeant Liam Hale sprinted along the final shuttle line, ushering civilians toward the ramp of the last outbound carrier. Smoke stained the air, distant tremors shook loose dust from the landing bay rafters. Children cried, parents clenched bags of whatever life they could carry, and Hale forced himself not to look any of them in the eyes for too long. Sympathy slowed the hands. "Move, move, move." Hale shouted, waving the next cluster forward. "You're getting off this rock, I promise you. Just keep going." "Sergeant." Corporal Rhea Yarden jogged up beside him, helmet clipped to her belt, face slick with sweat and soot. "Command just relayed, Corvette screens going live. The aliens will be in system any minute." Hale's jaw tightened. "Then we keep the line moving until that shuttle bay is empty. Go help the medics. I'll handle this side." Rhea nodded and ran on. Hale turned back to the civilians, raising his voice, forcing strength into syllables he wasn't sure he still possessed. "Next group forward now." He didn't dare look at the sky. He knew what would be there soon. The core Thale armada tore out of warp in a blaze of crimson light, their vessels jagged and predatory, ships built not merely to wage war, but to perform it. At the center of their formation, aboard the flagship Bloodborne Ascendant, High Warlord Caver Threx bared his fangs in anticipation. "Pathetic," Threx growled, leaning forward on his command throne. "A single colony world, and they scatter like vermin before we've even spoken. No honor, no stand, no challenge." His second-in-command, Captain Varkin, laughed harshly. "Their spirit is broken, Warlord. This galaxy softens them. We will carve the truth into their bones." Threx spread his arms wide, embracing the sight of Tantalus, for on the display. "Begin bombardment the moment we close range. I want fire on every continent. Let the humans witness what fate awaits those who defy the core Thale dominion." Weapons crews roared in approval. Glory, flames, spectacle. It was all they craved. None of them noticed that the human defense satellites did not power down in terror or attempt futile warning shots. They simply waited, silent, perfectly aligned. "Enemy fleet accelerating," Mara reported. "Trajectory suggests a direct plunge to low orbit. They're not slowing." Reyes's eyelids lowered, a faint expression of resignation mixed with contempt. "Of course not." He turned to the comms officer. "Patch me to ground command." A moment later, Hale's voice crackled through the bridge speakers. "This is Sergeant Hale. Go ahead." "Sergeant," Reyes said unshaken, "I need your shuttles gone the next 5 minutes. If they're still launching when we spring the trap, they'll be caught in the crossfire." Hale looked back at the evacuation bay, at the terrified families, medics, and wounded. 5 minutes wasn't enough. But it didn't matter. "Understood, Admiral. We'll make it happen." Reyes paused, a rare, brief moment of humanity slipping through his tone. "Get your people home, Sergeant. We'll buy you the time." The channel closed. Mara watched Reyes for a second, then spoke softly. Sir, you think the Corthale realize this isn't Vega? No, Reyes replied, because they never believed humans could learn this fast. He raised his hand and the tactical holomap shifted, displaying hidden assets along the system's outer orbit, ships the aliens had not yet detected, concealed within sensor shadows and electronic haze. They expect fear. They expect disarray. Let's give them silence instead. He turned to the fire control stations. All batteries, hold until my command. Not one discharge, not one signal pulse, until I speak the word. Bridge officer straightened. Voices sharpened. Fear evaporated, replaced by purpose. The trap was set. Warlord Frex rose from his throne as the first Corthale salvos armed. Open a channel to the colony. I want them to hear the sentence we pass. The comms officer connected the feed. Channel open, my warlord. Frex leaned forward, voice amplified across the void. Humans of Tantalus 4. You are judged unworthy of your worlds, your sky, your legacy. Kneel in ash or die as animals. Choose. No answer. No plea. No transmission. Varkan's brow furrowed. Strange. No defensive broadcast. No begging. Have they already fled? Frex snarled. Perhaps they've accepted oblivion. So be it. Fire. Before he could finish, alarms shrieked across the Corthale bridge. What? Varkan snapped, spinning toward the tactical pit. Gravitic distortions, a sensor officer shouted. Multiple signatures behind us, no, around us, human vessels, hundreds of them, they were waiting. Frex's eyes widened, confusion flickering into rage. Impossible. They have no such numbers in this sector. Yet the truth flowed across every display. Human warships, emerging in perfect synchronization, encircling the Corthale formation like a tightening noose. Not charging, not screaming, just waiting. On the human bridge, Mara whispered the obvious question. How did they not see us? They saw only what their pride permitted, Reyes answered. And pride makes for excellent camouflage. The moment held, one breath of stillness before the storm. Admiral, Mara asked quietly, orders. Reyes's voice was soft, controlled, and absolute. Close the gate. With a sweep of his hand, the encirclement grid activated. Energy barriers bloomed across the void, sealing every escape vector. The Corthale armada was trapped in a perfect kill cage. No cheers rose from the human officers. No celebration. Just focus. Reyes stared at the alien flagship, his eyes as cold as the dark outside. Transmit to their leader. One message only. The comms officer nodded. Ready, sir. Reyes spoke. Surrender now. Silence followed, rich, heavy electric. The bridge waited, breath held. Reyes did not blink. The first sirens began as a distant tremor, thin, warbling notes carried through the steel corridors of Haven 7's capital district. Erin froze where she stood in the observation atrium, Luca at her side, both transfixed by the darkening sky. Sparks of orange flickered against the upper atmosphere like dying stars. Then the clouds parted, and every illusion of safety collapsed. Streaks of violet fire rained through the heavens, hundreds, then thousands, each trailing a tail of malignant light as they knifed toward the surface. The invaders didn't bother to cloak their descent. They came boldly, arrogantly, like hunters toying with prey. The ground shuddered beneath the first distant impacts. Then came another, and another. A chain of thunder rolled across the continent, and the lights in the atrium dimmed. "Oh God," Luca whispered, voice breaking as he gripped the railing. They actually came. Before Erin could answer, the emergency broadcast boomed across the citywide comnet. Civilians proceed to underground shelters. This is not a drill. Enemy dropships inbound. All defense units stand by. Defense units. Erin nearly laughed. Haven 7 had a militia, not a military. Nothing that could stop them. The atrium doors burst open. Captain Rail sprinted in, flanked by 2 soldiers. His jaw was set, eyes burning with that familiar war-hard stare. Erin, Luca, move. We're getting to the evac tunnels. Now. They'll be deploying ground troops in minutes. Erin hesitated, staring once more at the sky. We can't just run. What about? We don't have the numbers to fight, Rail snapped. Staying here means dying here. Move. They ran. The corridors were already flooding with terrified colonists, parents dragging children, medics pushing stretchers, guards shouting to keep order as tremors rippled overhead. The lights flickered again, and somewhere nearby, glass shattered. The alien bombardment was intensifying. Halfway to the tunnels, the ground convulsed. A deafening roar tore through the passage, followed by a shockwave that flung bodies to the floor. Erin hit the wall, ears ringing, dust choking her lungs. When she forced her eyes open, she saw what remained of the eastern wing, gone, replaced by a column of fire. Screams echoed through the haze. "Erin! Up!" Luca hauled her to her feet. Rael was barking orders, pulling survivors from beneath debris. But there were too many injured, too many crushed beneath collapsed steel. Another blast. Closer. Erin's breath trembled. They're hitting civilian zones. They're not even targeting military. They don't care, Luca muttered. To them, this isn't war. It's extermination. The admission hollowed her. Soldiers forced the crowd onward until finally they reached the evacuation chamber, a massive blast door leading to the underground tram system. But when Rael keyed the panel, the door didn't open. The console flickered, then died. "Power conduit's been severed," Rael growled. "We'll have to reroute from a substation." More time. Time they didn't have. Erin stepped back, heart hammering. If they breach the upper levels, this entrance becomes a death trap. Luca tried to steady his breathing. "We need another exit. There has to be one." "There is," Rael said quietly. "But it means crossing the courtyard. It's open to the sky." The implication hit all of them at once. Open ground. No cover. Enemy dropships descending. Before anyone spoke, the ceiling above them groaned. Cracks spiderwebbed across the durasteel. And then impact. A torrent of molten metal tore downward as a blast ripped open the roof. A shock wave of heat and force smashed through the chamber. Erin and Luca were thrown back, tumbling across the floor. Through the smoke, a towering silhouette descended, 3 meters of armored alien infantry, violet plating shimmering, eyes burning like cold plasma. Its weapon unfolded with mechanical grace, humming with lethal contempt. The first volleys were slaughter. Rael's soldiers fired desperately, but their rifles barely dented the creature's shields. The alien returned fire in a slow, almost casual sweep, cutting men and women down with surgical bursts of energy. Screams filled the chamber. Blood streaked the floor. Erin couldn't look away, couldn't understand how something could kill with such dispassion. Rael grabbed her arm. "Run. Both of you. Go now." "What about you?" she choked. "I'll hold it as long as I can. Don't waste it." He didn't wait for permission. Rael charged, shouting a defiant war cry as he emptied his rifle into the monster. For a moment, just a moment, the alien paused, as if surprised by his audacity. Erin wanted to stay, to help. But Luca pulled her, and her legs obeyed even as her heart shattered. They sprinted through the smoke-filled corridor, leaving Rael behind. They didn't make it far. At the courtyard entrance, they skidded to a stop. The city outside was burning. Towers lay broken, flames licking at the hollowed streets. Dropships lined the sky, descending like metallic predators. Civilians ran in every direction, some on fire, some dragging the lifeless, all swallowed by chaos. The air itself tasted like burning metal and mourning. Erin's knees threatened to buckle. "We can't save them." "We can't save anyone if we die here," Luca said, voice barely holding together. "If there's even a chance to warn the outer colonies." A thunderous boom cut him off. Behind them, back through the smoke-filled hall, they heard Rael's final scream. Then silence. Luca closed his eyes. Erin didn't. She forced herself to stare outward, at the sky filled with invaders. Her voice shook, but her words were ice. "They think we're weak. They think they can break us." Luca swallowed. "Haven, 7 is gone. We have to reach the launch platform. If even one ship escapes, humanity lives on." Erin nodded, wiping the ash from her face. Something inside her hardened, not strength, not yet, but the shape of it. The beginning of who she would have to become. Above them, more dropships fell through the sky, blotting out the sun. And Haven, 7 screamed as it died. Smoke choked the ruins of Haven, 7 as Erin and Luca moved through what was left of the courtyard, charred stone, scattered bodies, burning steel. The sky still rained fire, but something in Erin had shifted. The grief was still there, raw and sharp, but beneath it now lived a harder edge, a pulse of anger she didn't bother to silence. They sprinted toward the loading district, ducking beneath fallen beams and shattered columns as thunder rolled overhead. Distant explosions shook the ground in relentless waves. Somewhere behind them, more civilians screamed before the sound was swallowed by plasma fire. "We're close," Luca panted, pointing to a broken skyline where the launch platform towers leaned like dying trees. "If any shuttles are left." "They won't be," Aaron said, "but we only need one." They rounded a corner. A violet beam slammed into the street ahead, blowing open a crater. Aaron and Luca dove for cover as armored aliens marched into view, 3 infantry, scanning the wreckage with predatory calm. Luca raised his stolen rifle, voice trembling. "We can't outrun them." "No," Aaron said, staring at the weapon in his grip. "But we can kill them." He swallowed hard. The Luca she knew, the quiet engineer, the reluctant defender, had never fired at a living being until today. His fingers shook. His breathing shook. But he didn't say no. Aaron leaned out from cover and squeezed the trigger. Her bolt struck the lead alien's shield, staggering it, but not breaking through. The infantry turned immediately, weapons rising, precision cold as mathematics. Then a new sound cut through the chaos. Not alien plasma. Gunfire. Human gunfire. From the rubble above, a militia unit burst out, for battered soldiers unleashing a coordinated volley. This time, the alien shields flickered and collapsed under the combined assault. Luca fired too, even through his fear, and one of the invaders fell. The others went down seconds later. A grizzled sergeant dropped from the ledge, rifle still smoking. His left arm was wrapped in blood-stained bandages, but his eyes were alive with fury. "You too," he barked. "If you can stand and shoot, you're with us." Aaron didn't hesitate. "We're headed for the launch platform." "Then you're in luck," the sergeant said. "So are we." He waved his team forward. "Name Soren. Last militia squad, still breathing, in this district. What's left of it?" Aaron stared at the bodies in the street. "What's your plan?" "Kill anything not human," Soren said flatly, "and get anyone, off this rock to warn the colonies. If Haven, 7 falls in silence, the others won't stand a chance." Aaron nodded. "Then let's move." They advanced together through the burning streets, now as a unit, Aaron, Luca, Soren, and his 3 soldiers. Alien patrols were everywhere, but the squad hit fast, ducking between rubble, firing in coordinated bursts. Each enemy, they dropped lit a tighter fire in their chests. They were still losing, but at least they were fighting. Luca stayed close to Aaron, trying to steady his hands between skirmishes. "I never thought I'd be doing this," he muttered. "No one did," she replied. "Does it bother you? Killing them?" Aaron looked in the eye, something cold and unflinching in her tone. "Not anymore." Another explosion cracked the skyline as they reached the launch platform perimeter. What should have been a fortified zone was now an open grave. Dozens of scorched troop carriers lay in ruin, and across the tarmac, a single shuttle remained intact, engines still humming, ramp still down. Aaron's heartbeat surged. "There," she shouted. But as they bolted toward it, the sky split open with a violent roar. A massive dropship descended, its shadow engulfing the platform. Alien infantry began pouring out, a full squad, then another. Soren hissed through his teeth. "They're locking down the last evac route. We hold here or we die here." The militia formed a firing line behind fallen cargo crates. Plasma fire and bullets lit the air in blinding streaks. Aaron and Luca threw themselves into the fight, adrenaline drowning hesitation. Luca fired shot after shot, eyes blazing with something that wasn't fear anymore, it was rage. Aaron advanced between volleys, firing with brutal precision. One militia soldier fell, then another. The aliens kept coming, methodical and unstoppable. "We can't hold this." Luca yelled over the crossfire. "We don't need to hold," Aaron shouted back. "We just need to break through." Soren glanced at the shuttle, then at his last surviving soldier, a young woman with soot-blackened skin and tear-streaked cheeks. He made his decision without a word. They would buy time. He grabbed Aaron by the arm, eyes fierce. "You two run," he ordered. "You get on that shuttle and launch. If we fall here, it won't be for nothing. Humanity needs a voice left to scream." Aaron shook her head. "We can fight together." "No," he said. "We fight so you can leave. Don't waste that." For a heartbeat, their eyes locked. She understood. She hated it, but she understood. She turned to Luca. "On my mark. We sprint." Luca nodded once. Soren and his soldier rose from cover, unleashing a final furious barrage, screaming a battle cry that was part rage, part grief, part goodbye. "Mark." Aaron shouted. She and Luca broke from cover, sprinting across the tarmac as plasma fire scorched the ground around them. They ran for the ramp. 30 meters 2010, Luca stumbled. Aaron yanked him up. Neither slowed. They leapt into the shuttle, hit the ramp controls, and the blast door sealed shut just as Soren's final scream echoed outside. Aaron staggered to the cockpit, slamming controls and prepping launch. Luca strapped in, breathing ragged, tears streaking down ash-covered cheeks. The shuttle engines roared to life. As they lifted off, Haven, 7 burned beneath them, an open wound carved into a dying world. Aaron stared out the viewport, fists trembling. "This isn't over," she whispered. "Not by a long damn shot." The shuttle pierced the cloud layer, rising toward the black void of space, where something far more terrifying waited. And they had no idea it was already on its way. The sky tore open in a bloom of white fire as the alien dreadnought above the Leon Prime shuddered under a barrage of kinetic rounds. Aaron lifted her head from the rubble and stared upward, blinking through ash and tears. For a heartbeat she thought she was hallucinating. Then the clouds split, and a massive obsidian warship emerged, sleek, angled, unmistakably human. Luca's breath caught. No way. They actually came. The alien cruisers adjusted formation in sudden panic, their confidence fracturing. The human vessel, Soul's Spear, moved with predatory calm, launching shimmering lances of blue plasma that carved through enemy hulls. There was no warning broadcast. No heroic rally. Only silent, efficient obliteration. Aaron staggered to her feet, still clutching her side. "They heard us," she whispered. "Someone heard us." The ground shook again as resistance fighters cheered from behind broken barricades. For the first time in what felt like a lifetime, the sky favored them. Aaron watched an enemy carrier split open, its burning debris raining like molten tears. Luca grabbed her arm. "We need to move while they're in chaos. If the fleet came, they'll be sending transports for survivors." They ran through shattered corridors and fractured streets, joining a growing surge of civilians and soldiers scrambling toward the old launch platform. Above them, alien ships died in bursts of orange and violet. The enemy ground battalions, once merciless and methodical, lost their rhythm. Aaron and Luca cut through a cluster of panicked invaders, their movements sharper now, fueled by something they hadn't felt since before the invasion: purpose. By the time they reached the platform, a sleek human dropship was descending, thrusters whining against the wind. The remaining enemy commander, Varnak, watched from a distance, bloodied and stunned as his forces fell apart around him. His mandibles tightened in something resembling disbelief. Humanity, the species his empire had dismissed as primitive, had just turned the battlefield into a graveyard with a single ship. He whispered to his second-in-command, "They were never prey. We were blind." The dropship ramp opened, and a squad of armored human marines sprinted out, forming a perimeter. One of them removed her helmet and froze, tears filling her eyes. "Aaron, you're alive. By the stars, you're actually alive." Aaron embraced her before she could stop herself. The contact, warm and real, made her chest ache. Luca shook hands with the squad leader, who motioned them aboard. Admiral Rhodes ordered all survivors extracted immediately. "You made it just in time." Those words alone nearly made Aaron collapse. Inside the dropship, medics rushed to stabilize the wounded. Aaron sat near the bulkhead, staring at her shaking hands. Luca nudged her gently. "We're going home," he said, smiling for the first time in days. She nodded, though a part of her still couldn't believe it. Outside the viewport, Soul's Spear drifted like a silent titan, its cannons cooling. The dropship ascended, breaking through thinning clouds until the battlefield became a distant bruise on a wounded world. Aaron closed her eyes and let herself exhale. The nightmare was ending. She told herself she would be grateful, even if gratitude felt foreign now. She told herself she would find a way to live again. Docking clamps latched onto the dropship. Moments later, they stepped onto the hangar deck of Soul's Spear, greeted by lines of saluting personnel. Then a voice rolled through the chamber, calm and commanding. "At ease." Admiral Rhodes walked forward, tall, silver-haired, uniform pristine despite the chaos raging across the planet below. His eyes swept over the survivors, and for a moment, warmth flickered there. He rested a hand on Aaron's shoulder. "You fought well. Humanity will remember the cost paid here." She swallowed, unsure how to speak. Luca bowed his head. "Sir, thank you. You saved us." Rhodes' jaw tightened. Something unreadable passed through his expression. "I wish," he murmured, "that saving everyone was possible." The words landed wrong. Before Aaron could question it, alarms sounded softly, gentle chimes, not urgent sirens. The ship's AI voice followed. "Admiral, bombardment coordinates locked. Awaiting confirmation." Erin's blood chilled. She looked through the hangar's observation glass. The cannons of Sol's spear were repositioning, not toward the enemy, but toward the Leon Prime. Toward the surface. Toward the camps, the ruins, the wounded still alive. Lucas stepped back in disbelief. "Sir? There are still thousands down there. Our people. Our soldiers." Rhodes closed his eyes. Pain lined his face. Real pain, not political theater. If the enemy regroups, they'll retake the planet. They'll dissect our survivors. Learn our strategies. Spread propaganda of human weakness. We cannot allow that. A clean, final strike ends the threat permanently. Aaron shook as understanding crashed over her. "You mean to burn the planet? With our own people on it?" Her voice cracked. "There are children down there." Rhodes' voice broke on the edges, but his resolve did not. "I know, and I will live with that weight. Command is not about goodness. It is about survival. Our species cannot afford another lost war. Peace will come only when our enemies fear us more than they hate us." Lucas stepped forward, trembling with anger. "This isn't survival. This is execution. You're becoming the thing they think we are." Security officers entered, slow, regretful, but firm. They didn't raise weapons, yet the threat was unmistakable. Rhodes looked at Aaron, eyes full of sorrow. "I am sorry. Truly. History will damn me, but humanity will live." Aaron's knees weakened. She tried to speak, but her voice failed. No scream came. No rage. Only a hollow, breaking sound in her throat as tears slipped down her face. She pressed her palm to the glass as the cannon arrays ignited. The planet, the place she survived, fought for, bled for, waited below, unaware. Her reflection in the glass looked like a ghost. Luca gripped her hand, but she barely felt it. The first blast lit the darkness, a lance of blue fire stabbing downward. In silence, her world was erased. She sank to the floor, shaking, not sobbing, just trembling, as though her body couldn't remember how to hold itself together. Luca wrapped his arms around her as ash bloomed in the void. Rhodes turned away, shoulders heavy, a man already drowning in the consequences of his choice. Humanity had won the battle, and in that same moment it had lost something far greater.